Hi, we're excited to welcome author Chris Reynolds today. He's the author of the book Island of Redemption. Hi, thanks for being here, Chris.
Hey Stacy, good morning.
Um, First question for you. Tell us a little bit about your book.
So I have six books out. This particular book is very different from any of the other genres. Most of my genres deal with alternative his. They're all fiction, but alternative history, conspiracy theory, shadow government. One underlying theme in all my books is that the main character typically starts out either as an atheist or agnostic, no relationship with God, and by the end of the book, generally, at the very least, believes there's a higher power. Things are not just random. So, on this particular book, Island of Redemption, I took it a little bit further. I took the story of a guy that he was caught up in the secular world. He was relatively successful. He had a family. He goes on a fishing trip out of Barbados that goes horribly wrong. He ends up adrift for 6 weeks on his boat, survives, finds his way to a deserted island. I kind of picture the boat as the book as the Shack meets Castaway with a Life of Pi twist. If you remember in Life of Pi, at the end, you were left wanting to come up with one conclusion or another, which this book does the same thing. And actually, there's one sentence at the end of the book that will guide you to the conclusion I want you to find, but that won't be until the end. So anyways, he ends up 5 years alone on this island, enough time to marinate all the things that weren't important, politics, what people thought of him, worries. Eventually, he's forced to start examining his own life, how he related to women, how he related to his children. And the tagline on the cover of the book, it says, on the road of destiny, there are no ordinary lives. So this is the story of how everybody is part of God's tapestry, but and some have more important roles than others, though we all do have a role. In this case, God needed to get this man's attention because he had great plans for him. And the last sort of the book, which I won't go into, he takes his role seriously in God's fabric and does great things for humanity. But after 5 years alone on the island, hurricane hits, does phenomenal damage, but it opens up part of the island he could never get to before. And what he finds is a waterfall, a grotto, and a beautiful young woman. Now, he's not sure she's real or a figment of imagination. And through the whole book, you're constantly asking the same question he's asking. But after 5 years alone, he doesn't care. He's been by himself for 5 years. So she arrives at this grotto every morning. She leaves every evening. She's made it clear to him, don't follow her. Very quickly, the sexual attraction of having been alone is dispelled. And eventually this woman becomes his confidant, his friend, but more importantly, his spiritual guide. And she starts daily debates with him about guiding him towards seeing the world through the eyes of God instead of the eyes of man. Again, she further strips down him to re-examine all the actions he's taken in his life, why he's taken it. And of course, he has no idea that he's being prepped for a much greater destiny, because at the time he didn't really believe in God, yet alone destiny. After 3 years on the island with this apparition, woman, friend, confidant, whatever you decide she is, she wakes up one day and tells him, you're ready to fulfill God's destiny. And the very next day, treasure hunters come to the island, and he is rescued. Because of things she had said over the years, he's able to help these treasure hunters find a lost treasure. It makes him one of the wealthiest men in the world. What he does with his share of that, I find exciting, interesting, humanitarian, thought out, and just goes to show where we can go with humility. So that's basically the story. Um, Part of what drove me to write this book, which all books, they just sort of come to you and then you flush them out. But um, I have been blessed in my life, which I won't go into, but with hundreds of adventures that A, should have never happened. B, if I tell people, they won't believe me anyways. Like, I'll just give you one example. I learned to play guitar by Joe Walsh because he moved in next door to me in Coconut Grove back in 1976. So we were neighbors. But so I thought, well, gee, let me write a book that kind of dovetails into my life from secular, self-centered individual to finally being saved and becoming a follower of Christ, and all of the adventures that could have gone horribly wrong had God not been watching out for me. And that's kind of what drove this book. It's not an autobiography or anything like that. It's simply one man's quest. So that's it in a nutshell.
That's incredible. So there's a lot of powerful themes in the book, and you said that a lot of that is inspired by your own life.
Yeah, so in the very last chapter of the book, I put something in there called an author's note. And I kind of write what was real in my life, what is fiction, and what is a hybrid of the two. Again, with humility, that I was not writing an autobiography. Nobody would want to read an autobiography about me, but instead I created a fictional character from which I could then put some of my stories into print.
Well, it sounds incredible. Is there anything else that you want to tell us about the book, or how to connect with you, or how to buy your book?
So if you go on Amazon, where the book is available, it's also in Audible. It's quite incredible if you put in Island of Redemption, the number of books that will come up that have nothing to do with islands and nothing to do with redemption. So you have to put in Island of Redemption, Chris Reynolds, and then it will take you to Kindle, paperback, audiobook. I also have a website, authorchrisreynolds.com, which shows some of my other books. Probably the best book I've written that's got the most traction to date is a book called Lost Secret of the Ancient Ones. It's the first book of a trilogy. The second book is out, and I'm working on the third book. But this is the first book I've done with Covenant Publishing. It's the first audiobook I've ever done. That was an interesting process, picking actors out, making sure they had the various different voices, that kind of thing. So that was an interesting process for me.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that with me. I look forward to seeing how this book does, your first audio book. You'll get to see, how that changes things for you. And you said you're writing another one, so more to come from you. And lots, if someone's new to you, they have a lot of back history of your books they could dive into as well. So that's really amazing. Thank you so much for
Well,
sharing that with us today.
okay, Stacy, thank you for your time this morning.
All right, you have a great day.
You too. Bye now.
Bye-bye.